Hello, my name is Jason Small. I'm a union boilermaker from local Lodge 11 in East Helena, Montana, and I'm also a proud member of the Northern Cheyenne tribe, which is located in southeastern Montana. The future of nearly all good-paying jobs in my area are going to be impacted by the EPA's decision on the guidelines for existing source greenhouse gas controls for power plants, which are scheduled to be implemented in June 2014. The Northern Cheyenne Indian Reservation will be severely impacted by the rulings, which may prevent the tribe, a sovereign nation, from freely managing our land and the use of its natural resources, which is primarily coal. Unemployment rates on the reservation run around 80 to 90%, seasonal work. If the proposed emission standards take effect, many of the tribal members' jobs may be jeopardized. The coal and electrical generation field are one of the few areas in which tribal members can find employment. The most sought-after jobs are in coal mining because the wages are high and there are health and pension benefits. Reservation leaders have been working on proposed mining operations for years and have also been deeply involved in development of good standards for wages and working conditions at the proposed Otter Creek mine project. If it becomes too difficult because of EPA standards to market the local coal reserves, it will go undeveloped and there will be no hope for future employment. Across the country, boilermakers have already experienced job loss due to shutdowns of coal plants. The mercury ruling was kind of killing us. It is recognized that 50,000 megawatts of coal capacity or more will be shut down. These job losses will accelerate in 2015 and 2016 when the mercury rule takes effect. If natural gas replaces coal, we'll experience tens of thousands of lost jobs for maintenance workers such as myself. The coal mining industry, as well as the coal-fired electrical generation industry, will be crippled. Gas-fired plants do not require an abundance of permanent employees, and the construction of these types of units are very temporary. The jobs which are lost will be high-paying, middle-class jobs which support families and promote local economies. Southeast Montana, and more specifically the area in which I live, will suffer greatly. One primary concern Boilermakers have about the EPA's existing guidelines for CO2 reduction is finding ways to avoid the loss of jobs that have at plants which have just invested billions of dollars in retrofit controlling. We know that the recently proposed rule on new power plants effectively closes the door on the construction of new coal-fired plants and endangers our future as a highly skilled craft. We also know that states are supposed to have a lot of discretion in this program. We would not like to see arbitrary CO2 emission rate targets imposed on states that would force a lot of additional job loss and plant closures. It is a belief that the Clean Air Act calls for plant-by-plant assessments by the states of how much CO2 can reasonably be reduced at existing plants by measures such as efficiency improvements. We must take into consideration that the U.S. coal plant CO2 emissions are already down 23% from 2005 levels and will be further reduced as more plants close the doors. The U.S. coal generation is only 4% of global energy-related CO2 emissions, so even major reductions would not have any meaningful future impact on global climate. According to a story written by Elizabeth Muller, the executive director of Berkeley Earth, which was published in the New York Times, we could shut down every coal-fired power generation system on our soil today, every one of them. And within a few years, China alone would more than make up for the difference in CO2 emissions into our shared atmosphere. The shutting down and disabling of our coal-fired generation system in the United States would just be a victory for environmentalists in the natural gas industry in this country. It is not a solution to the global warming crisis. We are just whipping a dead horse. China and other countries will continue to spew CO2 into the air, and billions of dollars will have been effectively wasted in this country in our forced transition from coal to other fuel sources, much like what has happened with the incredibly subsidized and unreliable wind energy industry. I would encourage the EPA to provide guidelines that will support reasonable measures to increase energy efficiency at coal generation plants. However, we cannot accept arbitrary and unachievable emission reduction goals that would bring another round of plant closures. The United States has one of the largest coal reserves in the world, and Montana alone possesses 29% of that. There are huge numbers of jobs on the line, and the fate of southeastern Montana depends on coal development. To remove coal generation and production from Montana would be like taking the potatoes from Ireland. It's just not right. Thank you.